Company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview. Joining us today on Stockbox is the Managing Director of Nickel Search, which is a dedicated Australian nickel sulfide explorer, Craig Moulton. Now, Craig, the company will be IPOing very soon. The prospectus has been submitted and you have an indicative listing date on the ASX of the 6th of October. So thank you very much for joining us today on Stockbox to tell us about the company. How are you doing?
Hi, Mark. Yeah, I'm doing really well, thanks, and thanks for your time today. Look, I'd love to tell you a bit about Nickel Search.
No, it's great to be talking to you, Craig. So can you start us off by perhaps introducing the company, the projects that you have or going to have, and what the company's all about?
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and thanks for your time today. Look, Nickel Search is a dedicated nickel sulfide exploration company. We have the Carling Nickel project in the southwest of Western Australia. We are specifically focused for the search of high-grade nickel sulfide deposits. The tenements that we've got include the old RAV8 mine site that was mined historically between 2000 and 2007 by Tectonic. And our focus now is to discover a number of projects or deposits exactly the same as that RAV8 style of mineralisation, which is typical Cambodia style nickel sulfides.
Okay. So a dedicated Australian nickel sulfide explorer. So can I ask you why nickel and then why Australia?
Sure. Look, before I answer that, I think firstly it's worth noting that the company that we have demerged from was a company called Alpha Fine Chemicals. And incidentally, Alpha Fine Chemicals is currently in the process of raising money to build a nickel sulfide plant in Thailand at the moment. But through that company, they've held the ground here, or at least parts of it, for over a decade. So to answer your question, though, why nickel and why Australia? You really only have to look at this structural change in the economy with the energy transition, obviously the rise of electric vehicles and the demand that's going to be required for nickel across the globe. So there is certainly very strong demand drivers for nickel as a commodity. So, we feel that this is the right time to start exploring and developing these projects. On top of that, as part of the IPO process, we've recently done an acquisition deal with Medallion Metals, and that will actually see us bring in, other tenements in and around the Carling Up project, and it will be the first time that block of ground has actually been held and explored under one company, and that will be a significant advantage for us. So, it's very exciting to be in nickel. Australia is a great jurisdiction to explore for so particularly in Western Australia where the sovereign risk is incredibly low and the rules and regulations around how to explore are very clear. So,
Okay, well, let's look at the projects in a bit more detail. So what projects do you currently have and what stage are they at the moment and what are the plans?
Sure. So, look, our flagship project is the Carling Up Nickel project that I've been talking about. Mm-hmm. But within that, we have a number of different prospects and they're at various stages of development. We have some very early stage greenfields exploration targets, some of which we're actually working up at the moment. We've got other more advanced deposits such as RAV1, RAV4, RAV4 West, RAV5, and these deposits have had some early work. There's a very limited amount of JORC resource information for those deposits at the moment, but that is something that we plan to work on over the next 6 to 12 months and start to bring more and more of that mineralisation into resource. We also have the RAV8 mine site, which has a significant halo of over 75 kilotons of lower grade, 0.6% nickel around the old pit and underground workings. And we believe that we have a demonstrable pathway to actually look at a bioheat leach process to actually bring that into production. So as you can see, we've got everything from very early stage, highly prospective deposits and targets through to more advanced resource definition targets and also some material that, we believe we can probably bring into production certainly within the next 3 to 5 years if it all goes well.
Okay. So projects there at various stages, which is always good to have in an exploration company's portfolio. What kind of historical information do you have, or any historical activity that has been carried out on the project or in the area? And are there any neighbours actually operating in the area near you right now?
Absolutely. So let me deal with the second part first, which is in terms of our neighbours, the two major mining companies that are operating within the Ravensthorpe area directly at the moment. Our direct neighbour is First Quantum, and we're right next door to their Ravensthorpe nickel operations. So they're currently mining nickel laterite, and this is the previous BHP operations that they acquired. But also Galaxy are mining lithium pegmatites in the area as well. So there are two major neighbours, if you like, from an exploration and mining point of view. Interestingly, when you look at the ultramafic rocks, which are the rocks that are most prospective for nickel sulfide style of mineralisation, what isn't covered by the First Quantum ground is basically more or less held by us. So we have a very large footprint in terms of exploration tenure within the area. And really most of the ground is covered either by ourselves or by First Quantum, with some minor exceptions, but generally that's the case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And what about historical data, Craig? Is there much of that available for you to pore over?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the RAV8 mine site, which we will, as part of this transaction, we will now own, we have a lot of the historic data from the mining operation and the exploration. So RAV8 was mined by Tectonic from 2000 to 2007. And then there was some fairly limited nickel sulfide exploration done by Tracker, sort of more regionally across the tenements. But there's really been limited work in terms of nickel sulfide exploration below a depth of about 80 to 100 metres. But we do have a lot of geochem data. We have a lot of EM, so electromagnetic data, both surface data and downhole data, which is a very good tool for identifying nickel sulfide mineralisation. Plus, we've got some fantastic structural mapping, some work that was done, a framework study by Brett Davis recently, just as part of the IPO process. And there is a number of other historic data sets that we'll actually be integrating and using as part of our exploration strategy.
Okay. Now, of course, you are in Western Australia, which is a prolific mining region. Is it fair to say that the infrastructure that's already there and the access is fairly good already, or is there a lot of work to do?
Well, no, in fact, we've got excellent infrastructure, which is another, really good benefit for the project. We have the South Coast Highway, which runs from Albany through Ravensthorpe to Esperance, that actually runs through the middle of our tenements. So we've got a major road, a major highway that literally runs through the middle of the Culling Up project, as does the Swiss, which is the Southwest Integrated Network, the electricity network, runs through that area as well. So we've already got existing road infrastructure, already got existing access to power infrastructure. Okay. Plus, on top of that, with having the RAV8 mine site, that comes with tailings material, for example, and waste dumps that would have low-grade nickel sulfides in them, which we may be able to process. It comes with the pit itself, which we may be able to look at the tailings disposal. It has an evaporation pond. So we already have a fair bit of sunk capital in the project that we may be able to use as part of our future mining operations.
Okay. So, of course, the big question really is why, and why are you in this area? Why are you exploring for nickel? What do you think the opportunity is? And that's, of course, what investors will want to know as well. So could you perhaps, in your own words, just make the investment case for us and why you like it and what opportunity that you feel is there?
Look, I think the fundamental investment case is when you just look at the market cap that we'll list at, which will be $20 million Australian, with 171 kilotons of nickel in JORC resource. That alone is a fairly powerful investment case in my mind and indicates the scale and the potential we have for growth. But when you add on top of that, not only some really significant exploration potential in the tenements, very little work done at any significant depth below about sort of 80 to 100 metres across the tenements. There's a number of targets that we've already identified that have had very, very little work. So you've got all of that potential on top of, already existing quite a substantial resource inventory, plus a potential development pathway through the bioheat ledge process into future production, and I think really it sells itself in that sense.
Okay. So what are the plans then? What does the roadmap look like post-IPO?
Well, we won't actually be really waiting until IPO. We're already about to start some of our early exploration activity in the coming days. We've got an 800-hole sampling program that's due to commence shortly. But shortly after that, we will then be commencing on an RC drilling program for some of our higher priority exploration targets. And then also we will do some diamond drilling. So we actually have an RC rig booked and a diamond rig booked before the end of the year. And so that will obviously help us get some more information on the exploration targets, but it will also provide some diamond core, some metallurgical core, which we can start to then feed into updating our scoping study for the bioheat ledge process.
Okay, so some exploration news before the end of the year. That's good to hear. I'm sure investors will be pleased to hear that.
Absolutely.
So I wonder if you can just finish the interview off, Craig, by perhaps giving us or giving investors 3 reasons why they might consider investing in Nickel Search.
Sure, mate. Absolutely. So, look, obviously the primary attractive reason in my mind is the company's very prospective ground in terms of its exploration prospectivity. We have a demonstrable pathway to a production. I think another one that we haven't really talked about is that is the strong sense of ESG, so environmental and social governance, that will be part of the company's DNA from day one. Not only in terms of nickel sulfide mining and the bioheat ledge processing, which has a much lower environmental footprint, but the company will also be and is very focused in terms of how we interact and manage with the local community. And we intend to be part of the local community down in Ravensthorpe.
Okay, well, Craig Moulton, the Managing Director of Nickel Search, thank you very much for your time giving us that introduction into Nickel Search. And I hope we can catch up again post-IPO and as you get active on the ground.
Thanks, Mark. Always a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.